So not a lot of great going on in the NFC North outside of the Chicago Bears. So welcome in, Jason.
Yo.
We got
happening?
Not much. We got a few about a minute here before we take our break. What do you have? And it can go longer than a minute. It's our show. We can do what we want. Tell us about your upcoming week and holiday tournament you're going to.
Holy cow. So this would have been before our game, the Saturday before Christmas. I put it up on the board for the girls. This was before we went to Brownsburg on the 23rd, so this would have been the 20th, I believe. And our next 7 opponents, the average rank in the Sagarin rankings in the state, not in their class, but in the state, the average rank is about 15.
Oof. Is that good?
Yeah. 15 out of, 403 IHSAA schools. But, the girls got Christmas break off on a great start, went to Brownsburg, who at that time was number 8 in the Sagarin ratings. After we beat them on their home floor, by the way, they moved up to number 6. So great victory there. But we leave tomorrow. We're going to be going up towards your neck of the woods, although we'll be going a little more northeast instead of northwest. We're going to be up Elkhart, South Bend area. We're going to Northridge, and we take on Westfield, Northridge, and Marquette Catholic are the 3 games that we know for sure that we play, and then depending how we do and other teams do, we'll determine our last opponent on Tuesday. But Westfield is, I think, number 12 in the Sagarin ratings. Northridge is number 14. Marquette Catholic, I want to say, is 20-something, but they're number 1 in their class. They have a Division I point guard. So needless to say, the Pirates are going to find out a lot about who they are. And it's one of those tournaments we could play really well and go 0-4. But that's one of the reasons you go and play in those. You get battle tested. We're going to play 3 games in 24 hours, basically. So you're going to find out, they talk about intestinal fortitude and mental toughness and things like that. That's another reason you do these things, is to find out what's your makeup. You want to learn things from a basketball perspective, but you're going to learn a lot of things about what do you have right there in the center of your chest? How big is that heart, and how willing are you to be uncomfortable? So we're challenging ourselves, and I like going to other parts of the state because you're going to see competition you don't normally see, but then it also opens people's eyes. It opens our eyes to other basketball out there. But it also opens up other areas of the state to, little old southeastern Indiana can play some pretty good basketball. And, it gives kids like Allie and Claire a chance to showcase their talents in front of coaches that they know their names but may not have seen them play. And so, it's giving them an opportunity to kind of showcase themselves and put themselves in a good spot when it comes to, all-star voting, junior all-star voting, all-state voting, things like that. So going to be a long bus ride tomorrow. It's probably going to be about a 4-hour bus trip. And then we'll play 2 games on Monday, 2 games on Tuesday, and head home Tuesday late afternoon.
It's a testament really to your program and you not caring, you'll take on any challengers is kind of what I'm getting at. And, with the run to the state finals last year and the one that you had prior to that, I'm not saying that these games mean more than they possibly could, but like you said, just play well. It doesn't, you're at a situation in the program and with the girls that you have, like the final record, whether it be 13-9, doesn't really matter if those 9 losses are against teams with those top 15 rankings, because you're one of those teams now that you've essentially gotten to the place that is, we're going to test ourselves. I don't care what our regular season looks like, because we're not really playing for the regular season. You've been ranked number 1. That's not really a thing anymore. I mean, yes, you want to be ranked number 1, don't get me wrong, but it's not a goal that's like, okay, if we achieve this, we're good. No, it's let's play the best teams that we can, get the best competition that we can, so we're ready for February when it really matters.
Well, because what you're going to find out, we were supposed to have already played Jennings County, which, you look on paper, you look at who's going to win our sectional. On paper, it's going to be between us and Jennings County. So we've got that game coming up. But, you look, we've got 3 losses at this point. We have yet to lose a game with our complete roster. Of course, we've only played 2 with everybody back and healthy and full go. But those 3 losses are to 3 teams that have a combined 4 losses between them. HSE at one point was number 1 in the state. And then we lose to Franklin in our second game of the year without Allie, without Mary, without Sophie, and we have a 4-point lead with under 3 minutes to go on their home floor. And then we get beat by East Central, and East Central's having a phenomenal year. They've only lost 1 game, and they lost that game basically at the buzzer at Jennings County. And they're, I don't think they're in the top 10 yet, but they're receiving votes in 4A, the biggest class in the state. So, obviously, kind of like what you said, I'm not going to be happy if we lose. I'm going to be grumpy. But if I can see growth and see us getting better, there's not going to be anything outside of a tick in the loss column, which I don't enjoy. But nothing negative can come out of losing those games if, A, you're competitive and you're learning more about yourself that you're going to carry forward. So when you get in, because, 3 of our 4 opponents that we're going to play up there are going to be 4A schools. Marquette Catholic being the one that's not, they are 1A, but again, they have a Division I point guard who's a phenomenal player. So, you go up to be challenged, to get your kids exposure, and to learn where you are right now individually and as a team, and then what we still need to improve on going forward. And what's been so fun about it, I said we've been kind of shorthanded until recently. This group is still trying to figure out who they are, and I'm trying to figure out who they are as this cohesive unit this year as compared to years past. And so, it's been a lot of fun so far to see their growth and want and desire to be good and the things they're willing to do to achieve those goals. So it's going to be a long one, but hopefully a fun next few days as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a long bus ride, so hopefully you have the comfortable one and have your iPad charged up with some pretty good I know you're a big series watcher. What are you watching right now?
Well, I need to get – I haven't watched it yet because I wanted them all to come out, but Pluribus, that was from the creator of Breaking Bad. He kind of went back to his roots because before he did Breaking Bad, he was in on the X-Files. And so this is kind of X-Files-ish, but he actually, the lead actress in it is the lady who was the lead actress in Better Call Saul. And so I need to find a way to get, because I don't actually have – I think it's on Apple TV, but, I might have a way that I can watch that.
I wonder how that's going to happen.
Hopefully the FCC's not listening.
I'm going back. I never watched it when it was out, but I'm into season 5 or 6 of Sons of Anarchy. So,
okay. I've never gotten into that one.
Very, very good series. I mean, there's, after 5 or 6 seasons, you're kind of like, all right, do they really need to do this? But
it's kind of like Walking Dead, because the first 5 or 6 years of Walking Dead were unbelievable, and then once you found out who Negan killed, we won't get spoilers. We won't get spoilers. Once you find out who he kills, it's like the series took a nosedive. It didn't slowly get bad; it just was bad instantly, and it was so good leading up to that. One that people tried to get me to watch, and I really wanted to like it because I liked the character. I couldn't get into Peaky Blinders.
That's the best. That's the best.
I made it through the first season, and I watched the first episode of the second season, and I just it didn't get its hooks in me. I didn't dislike it, but it didn't get its hooks in me.
Did you watch it with the closed captions on?
At times I did.
You have to watch it with closed captions on. And I will say about Peaky Blinders, it's my favorite series of all time. But the first 2 episodes of every season were like, all right, let's get to it. Let's get it going. But you made it through a season and an episode. They're coming out.
I might have to go back to it because it is a phenomenal character, and he does a great job in his portrayal. But I don't know. It
Man,
didn't
it's
sink its hooks
disheartening.
into me.
That's a good one. There's a lot of good series out there. I'm sure we could talk TV series
We
all
should
day
probably
long.
take our break,
but we
shouldn't
should
we?
take our break.
Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhowe Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Right Auto. We'll be right back. What time? Welcome back to Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhowe Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Right Auto. I about said Tom Fleming. I'm just so used to Ryan Higginbotham, Josh Lee, and Jason Simpson all joining you live in studio. Josh, you mentioned something off the air that you were saving for me, so lay it on me.
Real quick, is there Scott Weiland, our good buddy, is saying
Yes.
there's no audio on the YouTube?
On the YouTubes?
On the YouTubes. Maybe, Scott, if my dad can figure it out, because I know he's watching on YouTube because he said, Jason, you need a hat.
I need a hat.
Yeah, that's
probably a little shiny. Little shiny there, Edward.
Oh, Scott said it's on now. So operator air for Scott.
When there's a line through the speaker, Scott, that means it's muted.
You also have to turn up the speakers, Scott. Called
Zero
volume.
means there's no sound.
Volume.
on. Come on, dummy.
So yeah, there were a couple things that we talked about. The first one that we'll get into, Notre Dame getting an automatic playoff bid if they're a top 12 seed. So I'll just say, and then we'll get into back and forth because I know that you're on the Notre Dame side here. That's the most ridiculous thing. Not the most, because the NCAA does a lot of ridiculous things. But that is a very ridiculous thing that they get an automatic spot just being ranked in the top 12. Ridiculous to me. They're playing by a different set of rules. It was all fun and games, and it was great when they were independent and they could do all this. And NBC is still going to give them money to, even if they're in a conference, to play on Saturday nights and televise their home games. It doesn't matter anymore. Join a freaking conference. You'll get your games in. You can still keep your NBC package, and because now NBC is with Big Ten. So it's all good. Join a conference if you want to be a lock to make it in the college football playoff, not have the committee just give you something because they feel bad.
So let me ask you this before I give you my opinion on this. Who is your angst with? Is it with –
It's not with Notre Dame.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That's fair. Because if your angst is with Notre Dame, how can you be mad at them? All they did was ask. Nobody had to say yes. And, even as a Notre Dame fan, and again, I know I always explain this, but even last year, when Notre Dame played IU, I wanted Notre Dame to lose by 1 billion. I am IU through and through no matter what. But take out the last 2 years, everybody knows what IU's football history was. And so my Notre Dame fandom goes back. You have Tim Brown to thank for it. Like that, I was 9 years old, I think, and Tim Brown was unbelievable. And then you follow that up with Rocket Ishmael, who was unbelievable on top of unbelievable, and I fell in love. But, you can't be mad at Notre Dame. They throw it out there, and you're right, they're playing by a different set of rules. But all they do is that they don't create the rules. They ask for the rules to be created. Other people are the ones who are, I guess, following the path or, kowtowing down to them. I don't know how you want to look at it. So to single out one individual school is kind of ridiculous. But that's a committee or an NCAA problem. That's not a Notre Dame problem. It's not their fault that they've put themselves in this position to be looked at as such a brand, because that's what the committee's looking at, the brand of Notre Dame. How and I know, I don't even remember if we got, oh yeah, we did. We talked about this. But how ludicrous it was in every single college football playoff poll that came out. Every one. Notre Dame was ranked ahead of Miami. Both teams play, both teams win. Notre Dame still ranked ahead of Miami until both teams don't play, do nothing different, and Miami jumps them. That's where the whole, the whole bias that they claim is for Notre Dame has to go out the window, because they throw them in front of them. It makes no sense. And then how about, and I know you guys kind of already talked about this, the mighty Tulane Green Wave getting absolutely boat raced. I don't even know JMU's mascot.
The Dukes, I think, right?
It sounds right. The only reason the score looks respectable is because Oregon was like, yeah, we're good.
We're going to save our guy.
And they still won by, what?
17?
They covered. James Madison covered.
But at one point it was set to be about it was about to be an IU versus Illinois score.
Yeah.
It was on its way to that. In the college football playoff.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ludicrous that these things are happening. So again, just like you said, even though it's not really the NCAA, it's the College Football Playoff Committee, they are the ones who make the rule that, okay, we'll let Notre Dame in. But then you don't do it. I just got nothing for it. I'm befuddled.
I think you may and things change quickly in the NCAA. They just threw that Notre Dame rule in real quickly.
I wonder how many other schools got a say in that, though. Is it just the committee that decided this?
I would assume.
But you got to think, there there's an SEC representative, at least one, right? A Big Ten, an ACC. Like, isn't every, or is it just an independent panel that?
I would assume it's just an independent panel. I'll have to look that up here. I want to get your thoughts on this, sticking with Notre Dame. USC and Notre Dame have canceled a 100-year rivalry.
I would say that was USC, would be my guess. But
so USC wanted to, and this makes sense on USC's standpoint, they wanted to avoid late season game against Notre Dame because now they're in the Big Ten, and with the playoffs, I would say that it's proven that if you lose early, it matters less, but Notre Dame proved that it's whatever the College Football Playoff Committee wants to do. But USC wanted to move the game up and avoid those late season games. And also, USC is playing a Big Ten schedule when the SEC is scheduling McNeese State.
Yep.
No reason for USC to play Notre Dame in November. So they wanted to play it early. Notre Dame said no. No compromise there. It's kind of like an Indiana-Kentucky basketball thing that kind of stopped for a while. But do you blame USC for canceling that series against Notre Dame?
If that is the reason, no, because to their credit, they're exactly right. Now, the SEC is following suit next year, and they are playing 9 conference games finally. But you're in the Big Ten, and it could, depending on the year, let's be honest, you could have a soft Big Ten schedule. You really could. But you're still playing 9 conference games. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to then, after you've gone through the gauntlet of the Big Ten, to then turn around and be rewarded with playing Notre Dame at the end of the year, who, not being in a conference, Notre Dame does schedule tough, or they attempt to, at least on paper. And, some years you can't control how good another team is. But let's be honest, by the time Notre Dame has gotten to you, they've probably played 4 or 5 cupcakes. Let's just call it what it is. So USC stand to gain nothing from keeping that rivalry if it was going to be played at the end of the year. So I hate it as a fan of the game and watching rivalry games like that, and one that's so steeped in history and nostalgia and things. But I can't blame USC for getting out of the contract or the rivalry for that reason.
So there's 13 members on the College Football Selection Committee. Though sometimes 11 or 12 are active. I don't know what that means. But it's made up of former college football playoffs, athletic directors, past or current, players, and journalists. Okay. But like one guy that was a recent selection committee member was Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel. This is a guy that himself had some allegations and things that went on in his life, not including the hiring of Jim Harbaugh and Sharon Moore and the 11 other people that either got fired for being sexual misconduct or cheating. So, yeah, he's probably not the best person to be on that committee. But you are not allowed to vote if your team or conference is up for debate, which is ridiculous because we know that doesn't happen. We know that those votes go and those opinions matter. So, look, the best thing to do, there's 2 options that you could do. You can either get 13 buddies that just sit around and watch football all week or all year long and drink beer and make the college football playoffs, and they, I guarantee, would not pick James Madison over Notre Dame or BYU, who got hosed there. They lost in the conference championship game, just like Alabama. 3 losses, just like Alabama, and they got kicked out. Or you could just have Vegas make the matchups. They're the ones that know everything. That's all statistical and analytical driven. Just have Vegas make the college football playoffs.
Well, and, speaking of that, and I know this, anytime it would be like bringing up the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Cowboys. You're going to have a divide when you mention Notre Dame. But you mentioned Vegas making the matchups and things. Before the college football playoff pairings were announced, the team that had the 3rd best odds to win the national title didn't even get in the tournament? But James Madison gets in.
We said it, like, March Madness is great because you want to see those upsets in the first and second round.
On Thursday and
Friday.
Friday.
That's great.
What everybody wants to see.
But what do you want to watch in the Elite Eight?
You want Duke and Kentucky and Connecticut and Villanova. You want
the
big
best
boys.
teams in it. And because it's only a 12-team playoff, you want the best teams in. You don't have time for a story like James Madison and a story like Tulane to take up time on Turner Sports, on TNT or HBO Max or wherever they play those games. They're spending good money for those games, and they're getting robbed by having James Madison and Tulane play those games when, don't you think it would have been a great game at night, at 8 o'clock at night, Notre Dame going to Oregon? How highly watched would that have been?
That may, honestly, that could have been outside of maybe the national title game or
any game that I use in.
Yeah.
But
that was probably going to be the highest viewed playoff game until the national title game. If you've got Notre Dame at Oregon, everybody's watching that. Or you get them at what if Notre Dame has to go to Alabama? A game like that. But again, it's the committee.
So we talked about it real quick, and we'll, we've got some time left, but Dan Lanning came out in his press conference and said, I'm so thankful that I'm going to the Orange Bowl and playing Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl, but why are we not going to Texas Tech and playing? They're the 4 seed, we're the 5 seed. The top 4 teams deserve to have a home playoff game. And I love that IU's going to the Rose Bowl. That's great. But Indiana deserves, Ohio State deserves, Texas Tech deserves, Georgia deserves to play a home game. Alabama going to the Rose Bowl and playing Indiana isn't as tough a game for Alabama as it would be if they were traveling to Bloomington.
Yep.
And they're already getting 3 weeks off. To have that bye when Oregon essentially had a bye, but they had all this money pumped into Eugene. And Ole Miss had a bye, but they had all this money pumped in to Starkville. Right? No, not Starkville. That's Mississippi State, right? Wherever. Oxford. There you go. So they had all this money pumped into Oxford for basically a bye game against Tulane. Alabama should be traveling to Indiana to play. Miami should be traveling to Ohio State to play. At some point in time, you have to give these top 4 teams the benefit of being a top 4 team, other than just an extra week to prepare.
And you would have people crying, oh, Alabama and Miami got to go play in the North. It's not fair. Well, guess what? They earned that better seed.
Right.
So whatever conditions it might be, because, there's a chance. I mean, it rains a lot in Florida, doesn't it?
It does.
It could be raining there.
It does.
I don't know about Pasadena. I mean, I know this has been, probably 6 years ago, I think. My parents and my brother and sister-in-law went out because my nephew was marching in the Rose Bowl parade, but it was also Ohio State happened to be there, so my sister and brother-in-law got to go to the game. But my parents were just talking about it the other day. They said it was absolutely frigid sitting out watching the parade, upper 30s. In Pasadena, California. So it's not like it doesn't get chilly out there, So you can't just say, well, it wouldn't be fair for them to have to. Yes, it would. Just earn that seed and you get to play the home game, and then maybe a cold weather team's got to come and travel to you where it's going to be hot.
And the most ridiculous thing, the NIL transfer portal, or the transfer portal, opens up on January 2nd. Indiana will be coming off a win against Alabama on January 1st. So Dan Lanning's idea was, hey, we know who we're playing. Right after the Big Ten championship game or the conference championship games, start the next week and play the week after that. And then the week after that, home games. And then you have the semifinals and then the finals in the same order that you're playing. You don't need 13 days off or 11 days off or whatever, 3 weeks off. So continue to play the season, end it right at the start of the year before the NFL playoffs. So you don't have to play your national championship game on Monday if you don't want to. And then you're done before the transfer portal opens up. You only have 3 weeks for the transfer portal at this point in time. Signetti already said the week in between the conference championship game that next week they spent their whole week not on Alabama or Oklahoma, but on transfer stuff and portal stuff. So in the season, before the transfer portal opens, I mean, the NCAA is so ridiculous. And on the most,
but and wouldn't that kind of sort of be considered tampering? But yet every school in the country's got to do it,
like,
so they can get dudes.
IU will probably have their next year's quarterback committed before they play their last game.
Yeah.
I mean, how insane is that?
Well, I mean, when you play in the national championship game,
that
the
only
season
matters.
extends itself.
only matters for a couple teams. So as ridiculous as that is by the NCAA, the most ridiculous thing that the NCAA done wasn't even that. Not even the transfer portal opening. The most ridiculous thing of the week, and if we still had Get Off My Lawn, I guarantee it would be on there. The Baylor Bears basketball team got an in-season commitment from the 2024 31st overall pick in the NBA draft, and he's eligible to play immediately. Illinois got a dude that played professional basketball
in Russia, is that right?
Somewhere,
something like that.
To commit to them. He's allowed to play immediately. NCAA, what are you doing? How can you have a guy that was drafted 2 years ago in the first round coming back to college and playing?
And when you get a, is it a 2-year guarantee if you're the first pick or first round draft pick? Like, what's your guarantee?
3-year guarantee. Well,
so how is
2, and then you get a couple like a contract team options.
Okay, so his team options obviously weren't picked up, but he's got 2 years of NBA salary in his back pocket, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
Whatever his contract would have been, and I have to assume that, you know, even if you're the 31st pick, so you're the second to last pick in the first round, or they're 32.
30. Yeah, 30. 32.
Is that right?
30. 31.
It wouldn't be an odd number.
I think it's 30, so I think he was the first pick of the second.
Okay, so he didn't get a guaranteed contract.
Okay.
And
oh, that's better.
No, but like it makes a little bit more sense if you never actually made an NBA roster. But you have to go back through all of these years. Think about the guys who got bad advice and were told, "Hey, you need to leave school early." They don't get drafted, but this is before the rules changed where you could put your name in, get some feedback, and pull it out. These guys would put their name in the draft. They automatically put the final nail in their college coffin. They were done. Then they don't get drafted, and they were done. This dude actually gets drafted and can come back and play. I can't even begin to describe how asinine that is on the surface, number one. But then, number two, that also tells you about the amount of money that is floating around these places. This guy who was chasing an NBA dream and had already gotten, I don't know how much the contract would have been, like a G League contract or whatever. But you know he ain't leaving that to go to college if he's not making more than that. So I bet he at least doubled his salary by going to Illinois or to Baylor.
Yeah.
You know, I bet he's making probably over $1 million, wouldn't you think?
I would think so. And so, I mean, I guess you just want to go back and be like, all right, well, couldn't Carson Edwards come back to Purdue? I mean, he left early. He was drafted in the second round. This guy still has 4 years of eligibility that's going back to Baylor. And so does he get drafted again? Is he going to be the first player ever drafted twice?
Oh, could be.
Like, and it just made me sit there, and I know Indiana isn't where we want them to be. I think they're making progress, and I think DeVries is still the right guy and things along those lines. But I care less about college basketball now that stuff like this is happening.
Well, and just add it to the list of, everybody knows our unwavering desire for IU to be good and our unbridled blind love that we have for the Hoosiers. But even now that it's more enjoyable to watch the style and brand of basketball that they're playing and things, it's still not the same turning the TV on and having to go, now who was that guy again? We're hoping that DeVries is on the Matt Painter path from the standpoint of each year you need to be bringing in 2 to 3 dudes who you know are going to be 3 to 4 year guys. And then if you have to dabble in that one and done arena to get a guy, you go into the portal and get a guy, I'm okay with that. But I want to know each and every year the bulk of the roster. I want to build that, man, I love the way that this guy does this, you know, the way that he an AJ Moye energy, or, you know, a Jordan Hull shooting, just things like that where you actually fell in love with rooting for certain guys, not only because they played for your favorite team, but because of what they brought to the table, and you just kind of watch them grow and get better and things like that. I miss that part of being a fan just as much as I enjoy watching the new style. I want to know the team too, and you've lost that.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, I was talking about it with my brother-in-law Nate yesterday. Like, I do worry about this. And look, we both hate Purdue. Everybody that's listening knows that, but we respect the hell out of Matt Painter.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I really don't want to see, and I mean this sincerely, I don't want to see, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't want to see college basketball being so unlawful that it starts to hurt how Purdue builds their program. Because really there's only one school that is doing it like Purdue at this point in time, and that's Purdue. Because it's almost impossible to do that. And
Gonzaga maybe
Gonzaga, but even they're getting one and dones and things along those lines. But there's just not many. You could probably name a couple, but there's not many.
No, I can't.
And I just, you know, I hate that every year, minus Purdue, that you have to sit there and be like, is this dude even going to be on the team next year? Like, am I really investing in this guy or that guy or whatever, or is he just going to transfer out? And I hope that DeVries can get to that roster construction where, you know, like Purdue, he's going and getting that Oscar Kloof, the big dude that kind of helps them and gives them more depth, like the one piece that you think that they need to get over the top. And maybe that changes for Purdue because of the way the rules are. Like, the better players that Matt Painter brings in, the more attrition he's probably going to have. And, you know, before NIL was really a thing, that's when he brought in Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer and those guys and Trey Kaufman-Renn, those guys that have been around for 4 years. But he's also lost guys like Miles Colvin, who I saw the other day transferred away to maybe BYU and had 34 points or something. Ooh. So, I mean, and Miles Colvin, his dad played football at Purdue. Like, he's a Purdue guy, and he left for more money. It's just, it's crazy, and it sucks the way that college athletics has changed, even though it's changed for the better for IU football. Curt Cignetti it's helped him, but again, by all accounts, he has the 74th most talented roster in college football. And when you have the system that Cignetti has, where he hired his offensive and defensive coordinator when he was at a D2 school for $8,000 a year. Now those guys are making $3.5 and like $2.7 million a year and sticking around. And it's more about his process and his program and how they want to do it than the talent that they acquire.
You know, and you just brought up Coach Cignetti. I heard an interesting take the other day, and it actually made sense. And this was not a knock on IU. They said that for the future of college football, the worst thing that could happen for the future of college football would be for IU to win the national title this year.
I've heard this, and at first I was like, what the? But
yeah, then once I listened to it, I'm like, it makes sense, because you got to look, when IU wins the national title this year, it will have happened at the school that coming into this season was the losingest program in the history of college football. Never even tickled getting close to making a playoff or a BCS or being, you know, a top 2 in the AP to compete for the national title. Nothing like that. And in 2 seasons, you've only lost 2 football games total. You make the playoffs in year 1. You're the number 1 seed and national champion in year 2 at IU. Mm-hmm. All that does is totally take away any grace period for any hiring at any job in the future of probably Power 4 job for now until eternity, because all they have to do is go, they did it at IU in 2 years. In year one, not eventually in year one, in year one, they were relevant. Kyle Whittingham, what are you doing? This is Michigan.
Yeah.
And so if that would, and I sat back and I listened to that and I was like, that actually makes a lot of, I thought it was going to be like a knock on IU, but it was, when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because and he's already put his foot on people's throats when it comes to this, just because of the way he's been able to catch lightning in a bottle, and not slowly, like almost instantaneously turn IU into what they are. Boy, he has taken away a lot of runway for future coaches, and if and when they go ahead and win that national title this year, it might be no runway at all.
Yeah, Matt Rule, Nebraska's head coach, they've got plenty of NIL money. They sell out every game. Like, he even brought that up in his press conference. He said, look, things are turning around here. They're just not turning around as quickly as they are at Indiana. And, it's
at a historically
good program. Yes. And I think it says a lot about the landscape of college football, because if you're a guy like offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan or defensive coordinator Bryant Haynes at IU, typically you went to like a group of 4 school, group of 5, and got a job and moved up and things. That's how it worked. But now Bryant Haynes is sitting there like, okay, wait a minute. I can make $3.5 million at Indiana. No group of 5 school paid their coach more than $3.5 million. Do I want to go to a Power 4 school like a Wisconsin if they fire Luke Fickell after next year? Do I want to go there where the NIL funds are less? And if I lose there, I lose all opportunities to get a head coaching job. Does he want to go to Michigan where, to your point, like, hey, Kyle Whittingham, you better win year one, big dog. And Matt Campbell at Penn State, you better win year one because we're dumping all this money in there. You can retain your coordinators easier because the way of the college football landscape is. And it's good for IU, but not so great for the sport. So speaking of IU.
Well, hold on. Like, you just mentioned that, and people are like, oh, they're going to leave for head coaching jobs. $3.5 million to be a coordinator. And all you got to do is show up and do your job. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have any of the headache of being a head coach. Not that there's not pressure, but think about this. Mike Elko at Texas A&M is tied for 24th as a head coach in salary at $7 million. So you're making half of what a head coach is making, and you're a coordinator. Why would you leave? I mean, and I get it. There's ego. There's that challenge. You want to see if you can be that guy. But IU has made it very difficult to say, yeah, I'm going to leave and go take this coordinator job, or I'm going to go be the head coach at Ball State for $1.2 million or whatever it might be. The
year I know Tom Allen ended up making more money, but when he got hired at Indiana, he was making $1.8 million to be the head coach at Indiana. And now both coordinators and the strength coach are all three making more than $1.8 million. So the money has been dumped into IU, which leads us to 13-0 IU against 11-3 Alabama. Indiana, if they win 3 more games and win the national championship, will be the only team that has sitting in the chair of an undefeated basketball national champion and an undefeated football national champion.
Looky
now,
there.
I know it goes
it's
back.
Serendipity.
Yeah, I know it goes back, but it is meant to be. So Indiana favored by 6.5 out in Pasadena, 4 o'clock Eastern game on January 1st. What sort of problems can Alabama give Indiana? Because I've watched Alabama a handful of times this year, and I know I've got the cream and crimson colored glasses on, but I just can't see it.
I don't see it either. And had we lost to Ohio State in a fashion that I thought maybe we would have, I'd be a lot more nervous about this. Look, Alabama's good. They ain't Ohio State.
They're not Oregon.
I don't believe that either. And The only thing, and this is going back historically, my concern would be if there is SEC speed at too many spots that it causes issues. But Ohio State's got NFL speed all over their roster, and we were fine there. I mean, it was a slobber knocker. It was a knockdown, drag-out war, but IU looked every bit the part of having – it's not like IU fell into that victory. IU won that game. They were the better team that night. So, I mean, what's the dude that was the cute story last year? It was the freshman wide receiver.
Ryan Williams.
Is he still there?
He's there, but he doesn't get the ball much. He's not even their leading receiver.
I mean,
Alabama can't run the ball.
Well, good luck running it against us anyway.
I mean, like I
Ty
said,
Simpson does not scare me. I know that's my cousin, but he doesn't do anything under center that really worries me. Like he's not Julian Sayin, you know. He's not Dante Moore. He's fine.
Yeah,
he's not bad. I'm not saying that, but there's just nothing. Now, is Alabama capable of beating IU? Absolutely. I just don't see it happening.
I mean, the thing that concerns me is almost a month off.
Yes.
IU's the leading, and he was only an All Big Ten honorable mention selection, wasn't an All-American, but the guy that led the NCAA in tackles for loss, Stephen Daly, tears his ACL celebrating after the Big Ten championship game.
Oops.
So him not being in doesn't help, but they have had 3 weeks to prepare for that or a little more. So I do worry about a little rust at the start of the game, but I mean, man, like we've seen it for 2 years.
We got the Heisman Trophy winner.
We've seen it for 2 years. Like, don't you think that Cignetti's going to have IU ready to play, like from Jump Street?
We say this about a lot of people, but until proven otherwise, Curt Cignetti is still Curt Cignetti, and has he done anything in 2 seasons to make you believe that his team won't be ready to play?
No.
Absolutely not. And, you know, even if things aren't going great, it's not like Mendoza has started every single game and looked like the Heisman Trophy winner. But by the end of it, he has. So even if he starts out a little bit slow, he'll get it reined in. And plus, if things don't start out, you know, you're missing a couple throws here and there, I don't mind turning around and handing it off to Roman Henby or Kalon Black. Like, I like our options in the backfield as well. And so I don't know if is it prediction time yet?
I mean,
we're still a little bit off. I'm still going to say IU wins 31-14.
I was going to say 31-17.
I was going to say like 34-13. This game's not going to be close. It's just not. You disrupt Ty Simpson, the game's over.
And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to bathe in the tears of Paul Feinbaum. Oh, it's going to be so glorious. I'm going to pull out my best Cartman imitation and just bathe in Paul Feinbaum's tears. Oh, it's going to be wonderful.
mean, we're getting, you know, if Indiana wins, you're only guaranteed one SEC team in the semifinals, and let's just say Georgia wins. Is there any way that Georgia beats Ohio State? I don't see it. And if you have an Indiana, at this point, like, obviously I want Indiana to win it. But as long as it's not an SEC school, like, Indiana needs to beat Alabama. But if they play a great game against Texas Tech or Oregon and lose, 24-21, yeah, I'll be upset. But they've shown they belong. And just beat the SEC teams, and I'm pretty good. So let's just go with predictions. We've got about 15 minutes left. Let's go with predictions because we won't be back on the air until then. First game, Ohio State, Miami, New Year's Eve at 7:30 in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Ohio State, 9.5-point favorite against Miami.
What's the over-under?
42.5.
Ohio State wins comfortably over Miami. I'm going to go 28-6.
Dude, you're insane. I was going to say 28-7. I swear.
Yeah, 28-6. I don't even like Carson Beck's cute and all, but good luck.
34-14 or 35-14, and Miami gets a late touchdown.
Yeah,
to make it 14.
I mean, they've got some problems at the edge on the edge rushers. They got a couple first-round draft picks, but I watched them against Texas A&M, and that was a terrible game. And Texas A&M,
it was brutal.
paper Tigers. I mean, they didn't play a ranked team until they played Texas and lost pretty handily to Texas. So I don't see that. So yeah, I kind of like both, or all three of our predictions here. Oregon and Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl in Miami at noon on New Year's Day. Oregon, the 5 seed, Texas Tech, the 4 seed. Oregon favored 2.5 points. The over/under 52.5.
I don't know enough about Texas Tech offensively to be real comfortable in this prediction, but I know Texas Tech is legit defensively, and how was I outside of making plays, obviously offensively, and Mendoza making his first Heisman statement really in that game. I can see Texas Tech using an IU blueprint and being able to slow down or even stop Oregon. I really respect what Dan Lanning is able to do from a schematic standpoint and giving him this time off, but I'm not going to be surprised if Texas Tech wins this and it's 35-32, something like that.
The only time that Texas Tech lost, their starting quarterback Baron Morton did not play in that game, so they're 12-0 with him as a starter. He's playing obviously in the Orange Bowl. I think Texas Tech is way too physical for Oregon. I mean, and if I think that Indiana's defensive line is the best in the country, a lot of people say Texas Tech's is the best in the country. So whether they're one or two, the way that Indiana physically dominated that game at Eugene, I don't see Oregon winning that game. So I'm going to go Texas Tech 24-20.
I think this is going to be a shootout. Oregon certainly got the offense for it. I don't know about defense, but I think whoever has the ball last will obviously be able to either hold it or get a touchdown. I'm going to say Texas Tech 38, Oregon 35. It's going to be a shootout. It's just two high-powered offenses who can score.
The next game, number 3 Georgia takes on number 6 Ole Miss at the Sugar Bowl, so a home game for Georgia. Essentially, they're 6.5-point favorites with 55.5 as the total. I don't think we learned anything from Ole Miss and their new coaching staff. They've kept all.
Have
of.
they hired a coach yet?
They're Pete Golding.
Pete Golden, was it their defensive coordinator?
Defensive coordinator.
Oh,
So he's their permanent head coach at this point in time. But I don't think we learned anything because they played Tulane.
Yeah.
And
they did to them what they did the first time.
So Ole Miss in that game against Georgia earlier in Oxford really was running up and down the field and had a 2-score lead into the fourth quarter, and then Georgia kind of stormed back with maybe 3 unanswered touchdowns. So Georgia 6.5, 55.5 total.
I think Georgia has figured some things out, and they're looking more like the Georgia of old. So I think Georgia wins by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I think Georgia wins this game in the first quarter. Georgia is the only team outside of Indiana that I can see winning a national championship.
Ohio State.
I think we might get to that next week, but I genuinely think Georgia will. This is going to be like a reminiscence of the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
Ole Miss.
I agree.
Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss scores first. They drive immediately down the field, and you think, well, and then Georgia scores 35 on the
They march down. They get a turnover. They get a pick 6, and the next thing you know, it's all of a sudden 21-7, and
it just
Ole Miss is looking around like, oh, hey, what happened?
So I was wrong. It was at Georgia, but they scored 17 points unanswered in the fourth quarter to take a 43-35 win back in October over Ole Miss. I don't know. Georgia's a slow starting team, and I think maybe these guys, I don't really know how the players operate at this point in time, but I think that they seemingly like their coach. They are seemingly happy with the hire. I know we didn't learn anything. I think it's going to be a closer game. I don't think Ole Miss wins it, but I'm going to go with Georgia 27-24. I think that might be the game of the quarterfinals in the playoffs. I kind of like how they match up, and I would love to see Georgia go down because I do somewhat worry about them going forward in the playoffs if Indiana advances. Indiana advances.
Win.
So then we'll get to that for our final prediction. Indiana, Alabama. I know we've all kind of said it. Indiana 6.5-point favorite. 48.5 is the over/under in the Rose Bowl at 4:00. Biggest game of Indiana history.
Yep.
First time in the Rose Bowl since '67. Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Fernando Mendoza. Couple raises for the offensive and defensive coordinator. And I did like Cignetti said this. He goes, when we took the week to prepare for the transfer portal, we've basically figured out about 75% of the guys on our roster that we want to keep. So he already knows who he does and doesn't want. I do worry a little bit about the layoff, but yeah, Indiana rolls big. I mean, we're
35-13.
Yeah, I'll go 35-14, and you said 35-13. We're all going to go the same.
Not
so
gonna be close.
Let's hope.
Good
Lord.
Yeah, I don't need another heart-stopping moment like the Bears have given me time and time again. But yeah, hopefully we're talking about next Saturday. We're talking about the Hoosiers against Texas Tech or Oregon, and you and I heading down to Atlanta. Are we still doing that?
Ooh, yes, we are.
Okay.
I texted you last night and told you I have the confirmation email. I have 6 tickets awaiting after IU wins the Rose Bowl. So
We have to figure out where we're staying.
Yes.
I should have booked rooms 2 weeks ago when they were like $150.
yes,
How comfortable are we staying away from Atlanta
I'm
and
comfortable.
Ubering in?
I'm good.
We
We
don't
don't
need
even have to Uber necessarily, as long as we can find something semi-close to park.
like that.
But yeah, absolutely. I'm all about, because the less money you spend staying, that means more money to get water.
Yeah, water, nachos, hot
Diet
dogs,
Coke.
sodas,
Yes.
Beer, soda, anything you want in the fridge.
So much.
So yeah, we will be on the air next week. I'll be back in sunny Paradise up in Wisconsin, but in 2 weeks we might be calling from the airport on the way back, celebrating a Hoosiers victory. So I'll look for hotels and get some flights going there. We got about 5 minutes left.
I'm curious. I know you guys already talked about it. I'm curious what you said about the Michigan and Penn State hires.
I think Michigan finally has an adult in the room, Kyle Whittingham. They needed to clean house. I think that was as good a hire as they could have gotten. It's kind of crazy to me that Whittingham said he was never going to coach after 65, and at 66 years old, he takes on the train wreck that is Michigan at this point in time.
But think about that. They are a train wreck. They were a train wreck when Harbaugh was there, but even with all of that chaos around him, they won a national title. So he showed what was possible there. Yeah, cheating your brains out, but hey, you still did it. So I was surprised when I saw his name, but it was also one of those that gives me like Lloyd Carr type vibes. He's not going to go out and be bombastic and things like that. He's just gonna go coach him up.
Is there any worry that literally his whole career outside of a 4-year stint, I think he was maybe in Idaho, has all been in Utah? Does that matter anymore?
I don't think anymore, because going to a place like Michigan, the brand recruits itself. And so you're recruiting to that Block M and the history and the, you still have the Desmond Howard Heisman pose and things like that still get shown all the time. Just won a national title 2 seasons ago. So his ability to recruit there, and it's just like, it doesn't matter who it is. Even if Nick Saban came back to coaching, who he has on his staff is what's going to matter, because they're the one. Let's be honest, they're the ones that are out there getting the recruits. So who he's able to put around him is going to go a long way to how successful he can be. But I think it's a great hire for Michigan. I really do.
Yeah, and the only thing I guess I would step back a little bit, the brand, because we've seen it at IU with basketball. Like, we know how important the connections are from the IU program and the head coach to high schools locally, because we saw IU miss on a lot of recruits under Woodson and Archie, and that was ultimately the downfall of Tom Crean. Like, he lost the respect of the Indiana high school coaches. So maybe it's not as big a deal when you have 85 guys on your roster as opposed to 13, but I don't think they could have done any better. And then with Matt Campbell at Penn State, I feel like on this show we've talked for years about where Matt Campbell is going to go because he did so well in Ames at Iowa State. So I think that's like a A- to an A hire for Penn State.
I'm going to reserve judgment on that one. I'm not sure if he is that guy who, when it's all said and done, you look back and go, he was at the perfect spot at Iowa State. I don't know if he's ready for that. Because regardless of how he does, the very first time he loses to Michigan or Ohio State, there he goes. He's just like James Franklin, can't win the big game. And then that narrative's going to start, even though he's done nothing to deserve that. It's one game. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he deals with that spotlight. When you win a big game at Iowa State, it's a big deal. When you win a big game at Penn State, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. What's next? So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that bubble.
Yeah, he's got Northeast Ohio connections, and that's kind of why he was always like, well, is he going to be the Michigan coach, maybe the Ohio State coach if Ryan Day gets fired, which looks kind of silly now. Yeah. But I think that was a good hire for them. But to your point, like, is he ready for the spotlight? And I have a buddy that's an Iowa fan but also likes Iowa State. He's like, dude, he was a king in Ames. And I said, well, he was making $5 million. And now he's making 12 or 13 with a buyout that's $75 million. So at that point in time, who really cares?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Go Hoosiers. Good luck this week, Jason.
Thank you.
Hopefully next Saturday we're talking about a lot of victories for the Hoosiers and the Bears and your team. Last thing, what are your thoughts on Phillip Rivers and the 2 games that he played?
It's so entertaining because you got, especially this last week, like, how do you not watch that and go, that's kind of fun to see? Like, let's be honest. Is it absolutely ludicrous? Yes, it is. But good for him. I mean, shutting everybody up. And, yeah, I know, yes, he didn't lead them to a victory. But, I mean, for crying out loud, you're playing the 49ers. They're one of the probably 5 odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl this year. And you gave them everything you had. You didn't give up all those touchdowns to them. So it's ludicrous. I mean, it still means the Colts are exactly where they have been since Andrew Luck. They're in quarterback purgatory. It has nothing at all to – I'm sorry. The Colts had to make that move to get Sauce Gardner when they did. Yeah. Yes, I know they gave up first-round draft picks for it, so now they don't have – there's always a way to get a quarterback. But, you know, good on him and good on the Colts for going and doing it. They're not in the playoffs, and we kind of knew that was going to happen. But
yeah, I think I was wrong. I know you said a couple weeks ago that it would only help his Hall of Fame resume. I said it wouldn't because there's going to be 5 more years of quarterbacks that have retired. But I definitely think this helps his Hall of Fame case. Just the fact that now I think these last 2 games and then whatever happens the next 2, if he plays, I know he will this week, but if he plays the last one, like, you got to see Phillip Rivers, even with the lack of arm strength, you could see how smart he was and how well he just played quarterback. And he didn't need all the physical traits to go out and throw for 275 yards and put the ball where it needed to be. So gives you a little bit more appreciation, I think, for Phillip Rivers and his career.
And it's going to be really interesting to see. Are they going to sign Phillip Rivers?
Give him 1-year deal, baby. Let him get in shape. Don't let Phillip Rivers lose 40 pounds. Don't let it happen.
Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy Right Auto. For Ryan Higginbotham and Josh Lee, this is Jason Simpson. We'll see y'all next week.